This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. 6 months into it, and some have still not adjusted to the 12% hike in value-added tax. Just ask the Bahamas Insurance Association, whose chairman says it's been a major disruptor for insurers. You see, according to Warren Roll, following VAT's 2015 introduction, the government and the Department of Inland Revenue indicated that general insurance claim settlements were VAT inclusive.
It is noteworthy that insurers advised the government of the day that it was reasonably foreseeable that following a major catastrophic event, significant credits could or would be owed to insurers following the settlement of claims. Nonetheless, the government maintained its position, and the industry proceeded with its remittance to the government on the aforementioned basis.
No major impact on the local insurance industry following 2015's Hurricane Joaquin. However, a year later, insured losses in the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew were in excess of $400 million. Mr. Roll says this led to substantial credit owing to insurers, with some continuing to offset the input tax deduction while others sought to refund from the government.
General insurers have recently received assessments from the Department of Inland Revenue, indicating that a substantial portion of the input tax deduction retroactive to 2015 is now disallowed as they were claimed on non-VAT registrants. This is a fundamental departure from the policy communicated to the industry and the practice that has persisted for several years, resulting in significant sums being allegedly owed to the government.
The chairman was addressing Thursday's official opening of Insurance Month. Meantime, correctional officers will soon have a better idea of the limitations of each rank and the respective duties. It's part of a study the Ministry of National Security is set to release shortly. This at a time when the Department of Corrections is reportedly lagging behind many developed countries in its transformation from a penal to a correctional institution.
One of the things that we're doing too is to ensure, like the police force, for example, who has its own commission, all right? And that commission allows for certainly promotions to be addressed and dealt with in an expeditious way. We are moving as a government too to ensure that the Bahamas Department of Corrections has its own commission. And so we want to take you out of the public service circle, for example, because I believe that this is part of the reason why anytime you have promotions or there's recommendation for promotions, you get caught up in that melee. And these promotions spanned, a promotion that maybe could have been dealt with within a year, end up being 2 and 3 years.
The minister also at the time dismissed a notion long held by some that correctional officers are the stepchildren of law enforcement.
Meaning that we take you, we lock you up, we leave you there, you serve your time, and we punish you more and more and more and more. You serve your time, and then you go back into society, not being rehabilitated. And so you get caught up in this vortex of recidivism. And so within a few days or maybe a few weeks, you're back into the institution.
Minister Dames was at the time bringing opening remarks at the BDC's senior management seminar at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel. And the Venezuelan crisis cuts much deeper than a power struggle between its elected president and its self-appointed interim leader. It's also created what Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands terms a huge collapse in its public health capacity.
The Ministry of Health recognizes that we have to go back and look at strategies to increase our immunization coverage, not just for measles, but for a number of other vaccine-preventable illnesses, given the collapse of the public health system in a huge country in South America.
Now, there is a specific mention of measles considering a recent outbreak in Washington, D.C. that has led to health officials there declaring a public emergency. As Dr. Sands pointed out, this along with a resurgence of a number of other vaccine-preventable illnesses.
When you see persons who believe for one reason or the next that vaccination is neither fashionable or safe, based on a lot of disinformation that's circulating on the internet. Bear in mind that this could pose a clear and present danger to the health of our children.
As of Monday, there were 36 confirmed cases and 11 suspected cases of measles in Washington. The highly contagious viral illness spreads through the air. Symptoms usually start 7 to 14 days after the infection. The last known case of measles here in the Bahamas was in the late 1990s. And the Department of Urban Renewal taking a walk through the Centerville constituency this morning to identify areas in need of maintenance or upkeep. Urban Renewal Acting Director Kellen Russell says he and his team were on the lookout for derelict vehicles, inoperable water pumps, homes in need of repair, and areas that may need cleaning.
What we are seeing is a high level of incidence with the youth of the area as well as the seniors of the area. So what we are going to do is move into the area, identify students who are not a part of our programs, who will need to join our program. We are going to walk to the street corners to find seniors who have not been connected with our seniors program, and we are going to try our best to connect them, to link them to the relevant authorities to be provided with the help that they need to be provided with. So one of the challenges that we see, as you would have asked, is amongst our seniors, amongst our youth, and they are the things that we are going to tackle.
When asked what prompted the walkabout, here's Mr. Russell's response.
I have been acting now for the past 2 weeks. So what triggered it off is a new director seeking to do new things, seeking to build upon the foundation that was already set by the former director. Right. So I believe that it's time now for us to get out and do what we have to do as the new and incoming director for Urban Renewal.
Reps from all 8 urban renewal centers across the capital were on the walk. Our final stories are up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.